Well, good evening, everybody. Greetings. Before we begin, we need to make sure that all non-residents are sitting in the rear. And if you are a resident and you would like to vote, you need to please sit in the voting section and make sure that you have checked in with our voter registrar over here as you enter the building. If you would like to make a comment on one of the articles we're taking out, please raise your hand or stand up so the moderator may call on you. And we have a speaker over there, a microphone over there so that you can speak and be heard, and it will be recorded. When you go over to the microphone and you're addressing the moderator, you can't have conversations amongst yourselves. You must address everything to the moderator. And when you do that, please state your name, your address, and/or the organization that you represent. And if you would all please turn your phones on to silent. And if you do go to the microphone, don't bring your cell phone because it does cause interference. So I do need all of the council members to turn your phones off because it will cause interference with your microphones. All right. For those of you that are able, if you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. So before we begin the business portion of our meeting, I would like to bring to your attention that the budget committees are held in January, February, March. These are open to the public. And preceding the annual town budget meeting this evening, the notice and draft warrant are sent to all mail receptacles for the public hearing for the draft warrant and an opportunity for the public to ask in-depth questions regarding the budget process. This was held on April the 12th with one attendee who spoke. At this time, we're going to facilitate our presentations of recognition. And if I could have Chairman Matt Townsend and Representative Shelley Rudnicki.
Are we good? All right.
Good evening. Thank you. Yeah. So to start, I really like to start off by thanking you for coming here. And then the biggest part about this is that we want to dedicate our 2022 town report to Al Hodgson. Many of you knew him and worked with him, but he was a great part of this town. So Al, I think the biggest thing to recognize about him was that he's a great family man. He was the founder of A.E. Hodgson, served on actually countless committees and boards. The epitome of hard work and dedication. The dedication and volunteerism will be sorely missed at this point. And I think for us, the town of Fairfield is grateful and it is an honor to recognize and dedicate the 2022 town report to Albert E. Hodgson III. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm State Representative Shelley Rudnicki, and I currently represent both Fairfield and Benton. And I have the honor tonight to introduce Nancy Marcoux. Nancy is a longtime volunteer in town, I'm sure most of you know, but I'm going to go ahead and read what the Spirit of America had in your town report says. Nancy has diligently served Fairfield residents with steadfast volunteerism, coordinating operations, marketing, volunteer manpower, orders, deliveries, distribution, building management, MSAD 49 School Board Backpack Partnership, all for the Fairfield Interfaith Food and Essential Pantry in her various roles, currently co-director. And notably, since inception in 1993, the Fairfield Interfaith Food and Essential Pantry has served more than 36,000 needy families and 100,000 needy individuals throughout the community. The need for food relief has never been greater, the challenge well met and coordinated for decades by Nancy And I'm sure if anybody's been around volunteering for that has seen Nancy many, many times. And Nancy, there is a legislative sentiment coming. Our good Senator LaFountain from the Waterville area that is now representing Fairfield has those. So as soon as they get them, I'll make sure that you get that from the legislature as well. We appreciate your service. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Wonderful volunteers that we have that make me look good. We have 60 to 70 volunteers, and they all work hard to keep the pantry going. Believe me, it takes more than one person. And we have a wonderful co-director who has been with us for a couple of years, Rose Adams, and she's going to do a wonderful job when I'm gone.
Well, I hope that's a long time coming. Thank you, Nancy.
So I'd also like to announce that the Boston Post Cane recipient, Gladys Benner, she continues to be our cane holder, and she was recognized by the council in addition to being the Boston Post Cane holder, but she reached centenarian status on her 100th birthday 2 Februarys ago. So, yeah, people call and ask all the time, can my family member be considered? Well, we've got a few years to get through. All right, so at this time, I'll be introducing our town manager, Michelle Flewelling. She is going to give you all a fiscal update and the budget overview. The spreadsheets are in your town report on pages 72 to 88. If you did not pick up a town report, there's some right at the corner of this table. All right, Michelle?
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming this evening. I have two things that I want to announce before I get into the budget. One is that the town council recently has created 2 new committees. One is a building committee that is going to be looking at municipal buildings, and the other one is a committee that's looking to address how to handle various different issues regarding PFAS in our community. So we are looking for volunteers to serve on both of those committees, and the applications to serve can be found right out here in the lobby as well as on our website. And then also spring cleanup, everybody's favorite thing. The brochures are out here in the lobby as well. That starts next Monday for roadside pickup. Please want to stress that it is limited to only 10 items at roadside. We changed that rule a couple of years ago, and we're starting to see some pretty large piles out there. So just remember, it's just 10 items. So those are my 2 housekeeping issues. I do want to thank our department heads, the town council, our budget committee members. They've all done great work during this year's budget process. As the town clerk had mentioned, the warrant articles that you'll be voting on this evening start on page 67 in the town report. And then their corresponding budget sheets can be found starting with the overview page on page 72, and then each department following that for the spreadsheets. Please remember that we do not line item appropriate. The numbers that are within those lines within that budget are used so that we can budget accordingly. It is the bottom line number that we use. A majority of this budget, the town council and the budget committee did recommend the same exact number. That's always very helpful. If there is an instance that they did not agree, the amount that's listed on the warrant is the highest number of the 2 recommendations. At this meeting, the way the articles are written, you cannot increase any dollar amount, but you can vote to lower it, which is why it starts with the highest number. The differences are in the 3 different articles. They are highlighted in gray. The first one being in Article 3, which is General Government, the General Assistance Department. The Town Council recommended $10,000. The Budget Committee recommended $5,000. Article 18, which is for PAL, the Police Athletic League. The Town Council recommended $40,000. The Budget Committee recommended $35,582. Article 26 is spectrum generations. The council recommended 5,000 and the budget committee recommended 8,470. So those numbers you'll be able to address as we get to each one of those articles as they come through. If all articles passed as written, the overall budget will be up $33,806 from last year. That's a 1.51% increase. Something to be definitely proud of. Our department heads have done an extremely tremendous job in trying to ensure that our budget increase was not something that we could not easily absorb. Now, I do want to point out to you that we have received the information on the school and the county. At this point, the county budget is projected to be $1,101,304. That's an increase of $116,029, which is an 11.78% increase for the town of Fairfield. The school budget is projected to be $4,701,474, which is up $542,638, or 13.05% increase. However, last year there was a lot of COVID money, and it did affect the way our counties and our schools operated. So I did go back and take a little bit of a look. Last year, I reported to you that the town's budget was down a little bit over $124,000. So even with this year's increase, our municipal budget is still $90,000 less than it was 2 years ago, which is why I say kudos to our department heads and all of their staff. The county budget is up approximately $182,000 more than it was 2 years ago. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the school budget, while this year is up over $500,000, is only actually up $110,000 more than it was 2 years ago. So that COVID money that everybody had last year is now gone, and now we're seeing the repercussions of that. So what does this all mean to you? Basically, if the town's articles all pass at its highest amount, if the county passes and the school passes, there is a potential for you to see a 1 or a half of a mill rate increase. Revenue numbers are still in the works, as well as our assessments for our various different properties here in town. The field work is being worked on now for anything as of April 1, so we won't know those until closer to July. And the biggest thing to keep in mind is, so in the budget tonight, you'll see there's a revenue sharing number of $1.2 million. That number was put into the budget before we knew what the projections were. Those projections have come out. It's projected to be $1.5 million. So when the tax commitment gets here, we'll use the number closer to the state projections. So that has a big difference on your mill rate. But we won't know those until it gets closer. Another piece for you to keep in mind is our municipal's assessment ratio has changed drastically. If you haven't watched a council meeting recently, you would have missed that they have actually hired RJD Appraisal to start a reval process. It will happen over the course of the next 4 years. So basically, the town will be split up into quarters. They're going to go out, they will assess each individual quarter. You will receive notice as soon as we know where they're going to be starting. And basically make sure we have a true and perfect list of the real estate that does exist. And then the tax rates will go into the tax table the 4th year. Our assessment ratio is currently at 71%, which that means properties in the town of Fairfield are selling for 30% higher than what we have them assessed at, and that's on average. We've actually seen properties here in town sell for more than 100% than what we have them assessed for. So that assessment ratio is important because it affects your taxes in the fact that it affects all of your property tax exemptions, the biggest one being the homestead. So the homestead exemption on your tax bill should read at $25,000. Next year's tax bill, it's going to read at $19,500. So that's a considerable amount of exemption that you would be entitled to that you're not going to be able to get because of our assessment ratio. The goal is to get back to 100% so you can get that $25,000 exemption. If you are someone who is 65 years or older and signed up for the property tax program for that, its amendments are still in the works. We're not exactly sure, but it's supposed to freeze your tax bill so it won't be any higher than it was last year. Folks that are under the age of 65, you're going to see probably a $55 increase just because of the homestead change alone. So like I said, We're still working on what the tax commitment numbers will look like, but we're not expecting a huge change in your taxes. When the mill rate dropped last year down to 21, we suspected that it would probably come back up again this year, simply because we knew the COVID money that the schools had, we're not going to have again this year. So your municipal budget here for just the town departments, like we said, it's a 1.5%. It's the county and the school that's really having a much bigger impact. The school budget, I believe, is this coming Thursday. So if y'all would like to go to that, I would highly recommend it. So to talk about that budget. Thank you very much. And let's get on with the show.
So, and the school budget meeting is Tuesday, May 16th, 7 p.m., Lawrence Junior High. You can all come see me again. If you'd like to attend that meeting, you'll be checking in with me and my deputy, James. All right, so moving on. So now, at this time, we will act on Article 1 to choose a moderator. Do I have a motion to nominate a moderator?
So moved.
I make a motion to nominate Peter Mills.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? I have a motion to cease nominations.
Motion to cease.
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of Peter Mills as moderator, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Moderator, I hereby turn over the gavel to you. Let's get you sworn in. Do you swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of the state, so long as you continue to assist them thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities duties incumbent upon you as moderator, according to the Constitution and laws of this state, so help you God?
I do. Sign away.
Sign here. Do we have any hand count votes? If you have a hand tally sheet.
Oh, you do? Okay. Lord, that's nice. Looks like we're down to Article 3. Two, see if the town will allow non-residents who have information pertaining to Article 2 through Article 31 to speak. We've had a speech from the town manager in regard to the budget, but do we have I think this is for the rest of the agenda. So do I have a motion on Article 2? So move in a second. We do. All in favor of any question or comment? None, I hear. All in favor of Article 2, raise your hands. Any opposed to Article 2? Article 2 carries. It'll be the rule of the evening. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,053,282 for the salaries and operations of general government. It's divided down as $143,910 for admin, $162,708 for insurance, $10,000 for general assistance, $10,664 for elections, $20,000 for legal services, for a grand total of $1,053,282. Council recommends that number, and the Budget Committee recommends $1,048,282, which is the same number, less $5,000 in the general assistance column. Do I have a motion on Article 3, please? I move the budget. Move the budget. Seconded?
Second.
It is seconded. All right, questions or concerns in regard to Article 3? Any comments? Yes, sir. Why is it different? Why is it $5,000 less? Can someone understand or answer that question?
Certainly.
Yes.
I can answer that, and Tim Martin, who is the chair of this year's Budget Committee, is also here, and he can help answer that too if I don't cover it sufficiently. Basically, the reason is that we've looked back at the amount of money that had actually been spent from general assistance over the last of the several years, and it was thought that decreasing that number would be fine. We do actually get a match from the state of 50%, so for every amount that we pay for eligible services, 50% of revenue comes back in. So with the Budget Committee's budget of $5,000, revenue has also been adjusted on the revenue page as well. However, the issue is that general assistance has to be provided, whether you appropriate $1 or $100,000, we will have to spend that money. The concern is that if we don't appropriate enough, is the fact that you will have to come back and appropriate the rest. It could potentially result in additional tax bill, or you make it up in the following year on the other side. And the Budget Committee felt that it was still fine to stay with the $5,000, and the council stayed at the 10, hoping for the debate here on the floor. Does that answer your question? I get it? Great.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Mills?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I was wondering if the town clerk could explain if there's been a higher need for general assistance in the past year?
Yes, so as the welfare director for the town of Fairfield, as well as the municipal clerk, I would just note that the 10,000 is a more appropriate budget because right now we're seeing unprecedented inflation, CMP disconnects. Anytime you get even just one Social Security disability pending case, that can eat up the whole 5,000 in a year. So it's not appropriate to underfund it because it's mandated in statute. This isn't optional like some of the other items. This is actually required in law. So I recommended the 10,000. I actually would have asked for more, but 10 was the compromise. 5 is just not enough.
Okay, other questions or comments? If you're ready, all in favor of the motion as made on Article 3 for the number recommended by the town council?
No, by the Budget Committee.
No.
No, the higher number is what the motion.
She made a motion for the lower amount.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
The town council includes $10,000 for general assistance. That's what was read, what was moved, what was seconded. That's the motion before you right now.
The motion was for the Budget Committee.
Yep. I didn't hear that.
The motion was for the Budget Committee recommendation, the second was for the Budget Committee recommendation.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
If you heard it that way, I defer to you who heard it. I thought I heard it the other way. I apologize. I'm not deaf either. I don't know what happened.
It was.
I apologize. All right, so right now, the pending motion then, just so we all understand, including me, the number on the floor right now is the lower number that only provides $5,000 for general assistance. That's the motion that was recommended by the Budget Committee. Is that what's on the floor?
Yes.
All right, you heard well. Other questions or concerns? All right, you ready for a vote? And the motion is that motion, and if you're in favor of it, raise your hands. If you're opposed to the motion that was pending? All right, it seems to me that the motion that was made does not carry. And do we have another motion in regard to this article?
I have a motion to accept the town council's recommendation.
All right, thank you. And a second for that motion? We have a second for it. Any other discussion, questions in regard to this issue? Yes, sir.
All right, so just for clarification, Christine has never spent that amount of money. It's just in case there's an emergency that presents itself, so we don't have to get everybody to come back. Like, just for clarification, what was the total amount of your welfare payout last year, Christine?
I did not bring the laptop with me to be pulling that number up, but it was under 5.
Right.
But you have to remember that I have to fund it at 100% regardless of what the reimbursement is for the final number, as well as one SSI, SSDI pending case, a zero-income person. If I have to pay for them for the entire year, it's going to chew up the 5 and not leave anything for anybody else.
All right.
My thought is she does a good job running it, and I don't think she'll go over the 5,000 anyways. This is just in case of an emergency more than anything. And that's why the council recommended it the way they did.
Christine? Go ahead.
Michelle. To say that we've never spent more than 10 is actually not true. Just for clarification, there were years back in 2011, 2012, where we spent $24,000 a year. We've spent 14, 8, 5. So yes, we have had a really great track record in the last several years where we have not spent. Last year's amount, the 21-22 amount we spent total for the year, $3,828. But like we said, there's been a lot of things that actually come into play with that. So just to clarify, we have spent more than $10,000 in the past. We just are fortunate right now that we have not, which is good.
Okay, other questions or comments concerning the pending motion? If not, all in favor of Article 3 as now moved, would you raise your hands? Those opposed to Article 3? Article 3 carries. We're now down to Article 4 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $214,791 for municipal debt. Both the council and the budget committee recommend that figure. Do I have a motion for Article 4? You do, and a second, please. And a second. Questions concerning Article 4? Concerns or comments? If not, are you in favor of Article 4? Raise your hands. Opposed to Article 4? Article 4 carries. We're down to 5. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $245,735 for the salaries and operations of Lawrence Public Library. The council and the committee both recommend that number. Do I have a motion on Article 5, please? And a second? We have it. Questions, concerns about Article 5? All in favor of Article 5, raise. Any opposed to Article 5? Article 5 carries. We're down to 6. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $37,560 for the operation and maintenance of the Fairfield Community Center. Town Council and Budget Committee both recommend that number. Do I have a motion on 6? We do, and a second, please. Second, okay. Questions concerning Article 6 or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 6? So we have one. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Is the kitchenette functional yet?
Is the kitchenette functional yet?
Not rentable, no.
Other questions or concerns? If not, are you in favor of Article 6? Please raise your hands. Those opposed, raise your hands. Article 6 does carry. Turning my page. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $740,581 for the salaries and operations of the Police Department. The Town Council and Budget Committee both recommend that number. Do I have a motion on Article 7, please?
So moved.
I do. In a second? Seconded. Concerns or questions concerning Article 7? Seeing none, are you in favor of Article 7? Raise your hands. Any opposed to 7? Article 7 passes. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,228,877 for the salaries and operations of the fire department. The council and the budget committee both recommend that number. A motion, please, on Article 8.
So moved.
And a second. We have it. So questions or concerns about Article 8? You see none. All in favor of 8, raise your hands. Opposed to 8, raise. Article 8 passes. Article 9, to see if the town to vote to raise and appropriate $192,000 for the cost of operations and maintenance of fire hydrants and street lights. That is divided as $25,000 for street lights, $167,000 for fire hydrants. The Town Council and the Budget Committee both recommend the total number of $192,000. We have a motion, please, on Article 9.
So moved.
And a second. We do. Concerns, questions about Article 9? Yes, ma'am.
Question, and I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but in the street lighting department, is there any consideration being given to lights that don't like
I can address it a little bit in that when we converted all of our streetlights to LEDs, the light pollution is actually much less than what it was when it was the sodium lights, because the light is cast down and it has a cutoff in the back and it's strictly for that area. It may seem a bit brighter because it's an LED light, but I can assure you, if you look at the difference between these LED lights and the sodium lights that we used to have, the sodium lights made the entire town glow orange at night. These ones do not, where they've been replaced. So that is what we do have. If you have an area that's next to your home that you feel is too bright, we certainly can have somebody come and take a look at that. Just because we can take a look at what that light is, but it's also some public safety stuff, or if it's cast, these are designed so they're not supposed to shine in your bedroom from the backside. But what you can do, so maybe they need to be adjusted, but certainly contact Public Works and they can take a look at that. And just so folks are aware too, one of the things I forgot to mention in my budget, this is the first year we're not paying for that streetlight conversion. We did that approximately 5 years ago, and we continue to appropriate the $75,000 every year. So you can see that by converting to streetlights, now that the project's paid for, we are estimating that we're definitely going to save at least $50,000, and we think we'll save even more. So it's been a huge savings to us actually doing that conversion. So you're welcome.
Good question. All right. Other questions or concerns about about Article 9? All in favor of Article 9 as moved? Any opposed? Article 9 passes. We're down to 10, Public Works and Roads. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,315,259. The salaries and operations of Public Works and Cemeteries and Parks Department, divided by for Public Works, $1,195,519, and for Cemeteries and Parks, the sum of $119,740. Town Council and Budget Committee both recommend the same numbers. Article 10, do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I do, and a second? We do. And questions or concerns about Article 10? Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir, if you could go over to the microphone so it's captured on the recording, thank you.
You're just trying to remind, I was going to remind folks earlier. If you do have a comment, make sure you go to the microphone so that Chad can pick it up in the broadcast.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be...
Because we're getting some really great questions, and we don't want them to get missed by the public when they watch later.
Testing?
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is, being a taxpayer in the town of Fairfield, I pay the same taxes as everybody else, but when it comes to cleaning the sand, because I'm on Central Road, and it's a state road, I have to walk in this much sand when I walk the dog, and I can go the street behind me, and it's all swept clean. And I'm really getting tired of it, because the state, they may come once a year in June, and it's just not working well. And I was wondering if there's any way that, they could sweep our street also. I know it's a state road, but the state just, you're talking on a deaf ear there. I have a hard time even placing a call to them.
Sir, can anyone answer that or address that question?
I can answer that.
Has to do with sweeping the road if it's a state road. Is that the issue?
Yes.
I pay the same taxes as everybody else. Sure you do.
We understand that, and we would encourage you to continue to contact DOT, and if you haven't, we can get you their contact information. But we cannot, as a municipality, take care of state roads that we are not paid to take care of. So those kind of pieces. So we oftentimes ask for them. I can tell you on the Center Road, though, because it's about to be paved, my guess is the sand's going to go away, at least for this year. And then we'll see what we can do about getting them to continue to maintain that. All right.
There you go. Questions or concerns, others, on Article 11? Excuse me, Article 10, yes, thank you. Right where my finger is. All right, other questions? If not, all in favor of Article 10, raise your hands. Any opposed? Article 10 carries. We're down to 11. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $610,000 for road, street, sidewalk paving, and to carry forward any unexpended account balance to the next fiscal year. Town Council and the Budget Committee both recommend it. Do I have a motion on Article 11?
So moved.
Have it, and a second?
Second.
We have it. And questions or concerns on 11? All in favor of 11, please raise. Any opposed to 11? 11 carries. We're down to 12. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $10,000 for solid waste disposal. Town Council and Budget Committee both recommend it. Motion, please, on Article 12. Moved. Seconded.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or concerns on 12? All in favor of 12, raise your hands. Any opposed to 12? 12 carries. Down to 13. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 for spring cleanup. Council and Budget Committee both recommend it. A motion, please, on 13. Moved and seconded? Seconded. Questions or concerns on 13? All in favor of 13, please raise. Any opposed to 13? 2 opposed, but 13 carries. We're down to 14. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $13,200 for recycling. Council and Budget Committee both recommend it. Motion, please, on 14.
So moved.
Second, please. Okay. Questions or concerns on 14? Yes, ma'am. Go right to the mic. We've got a rule now. We've got to go to mics.
Shelley Rudnicki, 211 Norwich Road. Can somebody explain to me what the recycling is? Because I do know that people are paying their own recycling, so why are we budgeting for recycling?
Can someone address that, please? They can.
Would you like me to address that?
That'd be wonderful.
Because you will notice in the town report, we also include a copy of the law that says that while municipalities are not required to meet the state recycling goals in Section 2132 of Title 38, but they must demonstrate reasonable progress towards that goal. And the department, meaning the state, shall determine what is reasonable progress. So we have to provide a location for folks to be able to take recycling. So because we do not have a transfer station here in town, we don't have our own recycling facility, this allows us to contract with iRecycle in Waterville, which is a place in which municipal members can take their recycling, depending on what the flavor of the week is for whatever they're accepting at that time. If folks choose to pay for recycling pickup, then that's a choice that folks have. But just the same as paying for, we have the contract with Waste Management, so we've provided a location to take your trash, but many folks do curbside pickup. This recycling is the same thing. We have to provide a place for it to go, and that's what this is. And it basically boils down to, this is the price, it's $1,100 per month. That's the price to be able to use that facility.
Other questions or concerns about Article 14? All in favor of 14, please raise. Opposed to 14? It passes. We're down to special appropriations, Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $305,000 for capital improvement, equipment, and other reserve accounts. There are 5 items: $165,000 for capital equipment reserve, $80,000 for capital improvement reserve, $5,000 for computer reserve, $5,000 for playground reserve, $50,000 for revaluation reserve, and the total is $305,000, and it is recommended by both the Town Council and the Budget Committee. Do I have a motion on 15, please? And seconded?
Second.
And seconded. Okay. Concerns or questions on Article 15? All in favor of 15, please raise. Any opposed to 15? 15 carries. We're down to 16 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $8,000 for community events, $3,000 in three parts, $3,000 for Fairfield festivals, $3,000 for concerts in the park, and $2,000 for other miscellaneous events, for a total of $8,000 as recommended by the council and the budget committee. Do I have a motion, please, on 16? We do, and a second?
Second.
We got a second. And questions or concerns on 16? All in favor of 16, please raise. Any opposed to 16? 16 carries. We're down to 17 under agencies and organizations. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,500 to honor soldiers and sailors with graveside flags on Memorial Day. Council and Budget Committee both recommend it. Motion, please, on 17. We have it in a second. I see two. Questions or concerns about 17? All in favor of 17? Any opposed to 17? It carries. We're down to 18. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $40,000 to support the Fairfield Police Athletic League, otherwise known as PAL. Town Council recommends $40,000, which is in the motion. Budget Committee recommends a lesser number, $35,582. We have a motion, please, on Article 18. Okay, the council's version is moved and seconded. Now it's before you. Any questions or concerns about Article 18 as moved?
Correct.
40,000 is what's on. I get it right this time. It's 40,000. Yeah, you can trust me from now on. I'm warming up. Sorry about the earlier fluff. God, I've never done that before. All right, so what's before you is a $40,000 motion for the Police Athletic League. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor of the motion as made, Article 18, for $40,000? All right, any opposed? It's opposed by one, but it passes.
Peter,
Yes.
you have water right there.
Oh, well, I'll be all right. Thank you. I see it. I had my eye on that water.
Okay.
We're 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,000 to pay youth membership fees at the Alphon Youth Center for Fairfield children. That's recommended by both the council and the committee. And do I have a motion, please, on 19? I do, in a second.
Second.
I do. And questions or concerns about 19? All in favor of 19? Any opposed to 19? It passes. We're down to 20. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 to support the Fairfield Historical Society, recommended by both the council and the budget committee. Motion, please, on 20. And seconded. Yeah, I got two all at once. Any questions or concerns about 20? All in favor of 20? Any opposed to 20? 20 passes. We're down to 21 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 to support transportation programs provided by Kennebec Valley Community Action Program. The council and the committee both recommend it. Motion, please, on 21. So moved and seconded. Questions concerning 21 or comments? All in favor of 21, please raise. Any opposed to 21? It passes. We're down to 22 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $8,500 to support the Fairfield Interfaith Food Pantry as recommended by the council and the budget committee. Motion, please, on 22. Moved, seconded. And questions concerning 22 or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of 22? Any opposed? It passes. We're down to 23 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 to support the Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter. And it's been moved and seconded. Questions or concerns about Article 23? All in favor of 23, please raise. Any opposed? 23 carries. We're down to 24. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,500 to support Hospice of Waterville as recommended by the council and the budget committee. Motion, please, on 24. And seconded. Questions or concerns about 24? All in favor of 24, please raise. Any opposed? 24 carries. We're down to 25 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $8,470 to support Spectrum Generations. The council recommends $5,000. The Budget Committee recommends the number in the motion, which is $8,470. I need a motion on Article 20.
Make a motion to take the budget, the council's recommendation.
I have a motion to accept the council's recommendation, which would be $5,000. Do I have a second on that motion? That is seconded. Okay, now we have questions or concerns about Article 25. Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference? Why the big difference?
That's a good question. Anybody answer that? Michelle? Why is it always Michelle?
You can answer it if you would like.
The Budget Committee recommended the request of that specific organization.
I know, but why? Why is there such a big difference?
So,
We felt they provided a service for our citizens, that was a request, and we felt it was warranted. That's why.
right.
Yeah.
Tim, can you go to the microphone, please?
Yeah, we got to do those things.
The Budget Committee recommended the 8470. That was the specific request from that organization. We felt it was warranted by the services they provide our citizens, so that was why the Budget Committee recommended that amount. I don't know why council has a different number.
Well, my question is, what is the difference? I know one organization said one way and one the other, but
Your question is,
why the difference?
your question is heard and it's pending, and the issue is what is the reason for the difference, council?
Would anybody on the council like to answer that?
So I'd say this council was split on their vote. There were some of us who believe that that number, the higher number, was the correct number based on just the meals that they provide to Fairfield citizens. And other members on the council recommended the 5,000 because of other concerns. So that's, I think it's a contentious issue potentially, but that was the reasoning for the council.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So again, as your welfare director for the town of Fairfield, so this is another agency that provides services that take a lot of responsibility off my plate. So the Meals on Wheels alone is valued at so much more than the number they're asking for. But that Meals on Wheels is also a point of contact. So if you have somebody who is housebound, we have quite a few folks that are seniors, and potentially elderly in our municipality that are receiving this benefit. It's a point of check-in. They operate incredibly on volunteer power. This funding is for the essentials, and if we didn't have Spectrum Generations and the food pantry and some of these other service-oriented groups, you would need a full-time welfare director. This is what makes it that I'm able to do that part-time for the town, as opposed to having that be a full-time service. This is one of your offsets, and it's invaluable, the services they're providing to our seniors, and are disabled as well.
Other questions or comments concerning this? All right, I think the motion in front of us, if I got it correctly, is the larger number.
No.
Yes.
The $5,000.
The smaller number. Don't let me do this again.
Yeah.
$5,000, all right.
Just,
I'm sorry. That's correct, I remember now. What else? Any other questions or concerns about it before we move on, before we move it? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
For me, it was, we didn't have anything written from them and we asked agencies to send in a letter requesting the money. We did not have anything in front of us. A representative did come and speak to us concerning their programs that they offer. We've given $5,000 in the past, and without anything in writing, I went for the $5,000, but that was my choice.
Yes, sir. Go to the mic.
So again, although the council recommended 5,000, they had the ability to go back and change that number. They chose not to bring up a past article, but there was another agency asked for less money, and Budget Committee gave them what they asked for, and Town Council and you just approved more money. Thank you.
All right, just for clarity, the motion that we've got pending and seconded is for the 5,000, right?
Correct.
Everybody's agreed on that. We all heard it the same. All right. Any other comments? Yes, sir. What is this again? Five, it's in the lesser amount. It's in the lesser amount. That's the motion in front of you. All right. Any other questions or concerns about it? All right. All in favor of the motion as made and seconded for the town council, the $5,000 number? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. The motion that was made fails.
I'll make a motion to accept the Budget Committee's recommendation. Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second for the $8,470 number. Any further discussion?
I'd like to say something. I made the comments at the council meeting why I wasn't in favor for the total amount. Yes, Spectrum Generation is asking for Meals on Wheels, but they have this is a nonprofit organization, but they have a profit organization getting all the funds in for them, which is against the nonprofit organization. They do offer a lot of stuff, but if they came to the council with just Meals on Wheels, but they're saying they offer all this other stuff, I would say it, but they came this and we offer a lot of this other stuff, which is Medicare and state offered funding, which is for a profit organization, not for a nonprofit organization. That's why I was against the $5,000 for the $5,000.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Motion in front of you now is to accept the Budget Committee recommendation of $8,470. Been moved and seconded. If you're in favor, please raise. If you're opposed, please raise. You have divided vote, but the motion does prevail at $8,470. We're now down to Article 26 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $10,000 to support senior citizens programs at the Fairfield Center Grange. Council and Budget Committee recommend $10,000. And do I have a motion, please, on
So moved.
26? We have it, and second we have. Questions or concerns about Article 26? All in favor of 26, please raise. Any opposed? It carries. We're down to 27. Excuse me. I've got two versions of this. One has notes on it, the other one doesn't, so I'm doing both at once here. All right, we're down to 27 to see if the town will vote to appropriate the full balance of snowmobile registration fees reimbursed to the town of Fairfield by the state of Maine to the Fairfield Country Riders Snowmobile Club for the maintenance of the network of snowmobile trails within the town of Fairfield on condition that those trails are kept open to the public for outdoor winter recreation purposes at no charge. This is recommended by both the council and the Budget Committee. Do I have a motion, please, on 27 and a second? I have a motion first. I do, and a second. Have it. Okay. Questions, concerns about 27 on snowmobiles? Seeing none, all in favor of 27? Any opposed to 27? It carries. We're down to 28 to see if the town will vote to appropriate $97,170 from the American Rescue Plan Act, which is called ARPA by many people, fund for Delta ambulance services for the 2023 and 24 fiscal year. The council and the Budget Committee both recommend the allocation of that money.
So moved.
It's been moved, seconded. Questions about it? Concerns? Yes, sir?
If it doesn't pass, are they still going to come?
No.
Only until July.
And at that time, what happens?
There'll be no ambulance service.
If you're going to ask questions, please go to the microphone, but to recap, the question was, is if it does not get paid, will they still come? So to answer that question is this is effective as of July 1 of this fiscal year, so that if we do not pay this dollar amount, they will not come. And if we do not pay Delta, there is no other current option for the municipality, because ambulance service, believe it or not, isn't a required municipal service. In fact, it wasn't even considered an essential service until COVID happened. And they had to declare it essential service in order to ensure that anybody who worked on an ambulance had to get the COVID vaccine. So up until then, it wasn't even considered essential. So that has been changed. However, it is not a municipal requirement, and therefore the municipality does not have the ability to provide you ambulance service at this time.
There we go. Any other questions or comments on this? Yes, ma'am. The question is?
No, Somerset is not under this. This is strictly Delta Ambulance. The contract is with Delta. Now, that doesn't mean that the city of Waterville or the town of Winslow or the town of Clinton doesn't come to your house because they have mutual aid agreements with those facilities in order to come, or maybe Reddington Fairview is closer. That doesn't mean that we would have to, if the contract with Delta does not go into effect, we would have to in turn contract with somebody else. And nobody else at this point in time is offering us the ability to contract with them.
Other questions or concerns? All right. Those in favor of Article 28, please raise. Those opposed to 28? 28 passes. We're down to 29, to see if the town will vote to accept and expend the sum of $2,234,839 from estimated revenues to reduce the amount to be raised by taxation. This is recommended by both the council and the budget committee. A motion, please, on 29.
So moved.
Moved and seconded.
Second.
All right. Questions, concerns about 29? All in favor of 29, please raise. Those opposed? 29 passes. We're down to 30, to see if the town will vote to accept and expend the categories of funds listed below as provided by the Maine State Legislature. The estimated revenues from that source are the municipal revenue sharing for $1,200,000, local road assistance program, $75,000, homestead reimbursement, $600,000, snowmobile registration refund, $2,000, general assistance reimbursement, $5,000, veterans exemption reimbursement, $7,000, tree growth reimbursement, $40,000, and then there are other local, state, or federal funds or grants that are unknown, and civil emergency funds that are unknown. Actual amounts received may be more or less than stated above. The council and the budget committee recommend the article as written. Do I have a motion on Article 30? And a second, please?
So moved.
I have both. And questions concerning it? Or comments concerning it? All in favor of 30, please raise. Any opposed to 30? Thank you. We're down to Article 31, to see if the town will vote to authorize the town council to apply up to the sum of $600,000 from the undesignated fund balance to reduce the amount to be raised by taxation. This is recommended by the council and the committee. Motion, please, on 31.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. I see it.
Second.
And questions or concerns about 31? All in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? 31 carries, and that puts us in a posture for adjournment, I believe.
Concludes our business for the evening.
What's that?
Said it concludes your business for the evening, right?
All right, I'm going to declare, all right, motion to adjourn and seconded. All right, all in favor? Boom, let's adjourn. Very good.
Thank you very much, everybody.